Hello out there, this is Wake Angel 2001, and just a little bit earlier, the Nintendo released a new Pokemon Direct, so we got our first tantalizing glimpse at Generation 8 of Pokemon, which should be coming out late this year. So they haven't given a lot of details about it, but here are some of the things that I would want to see from it. Number 1, evenly matched starters. Yes, I would like it if the 3 starter Pokemon could evolve secondary types that would make them evenly matched against each other. What I mean is that Pokemon has always kind of been a rock, paper, scissors game. You know, grass beats water, water beats fire, fire beats grass. But the thing is, the second type has always been kind of a wild card. And I noticed with Generation 6, there was actually a pretty interesting phenomenon. Each one of them evolved the second type that made them even stronger against the other. Like the fire type became a psychic type, the grass type became a fighting type, and the water type became a dark type. What I would like to see is if the switch was flipped. Now, given how like the fire type, the bunny guy, kind of looks like he has a bandage on his face, that's kind of telling me that they probably want to make the fire type a fighting again, which would make it the 4th one. Come on, guys, vary it up a little. But if it's going to be the fighting type, maybe the grass type can become psychic and the water type can become dark. That way, like, they'll each evolve an ability that will allow them, they'll evolve a type that would give them an advantage against the type that they normally would have been weak against. So they would be evenly matched. I think that would be a pretty cool dynamic for the game, and it might actually affect the flow and how you relate to your rival. So yeah, like that would be kind of cool. Like you have the rock paper scissors circle going in one direction and the other direction, so no one has an inherent advantage. Number 2, a Pegasus Pokemon. Okay, now hear me out on this one. Not counting any of the legendaries or mythicals, there aren't that many horse Pokemon. In fact, there's really only 2 lines. From Generation 1, we had Rapidash, and in Generation 7, we were introduced to Mudsdale. Now, again, not counting legendaries, that's actually a pretty small number, but take a look. One of them is a unicorn, and the other one is a literal earth pony. So you know what you need, right? You need a Pegasus to round out the trio. Yeah, we totally need a Pegasus Pokemon. And we need to keep the typing conventions intact. Just as Rapidash is pure fire and Mudsdale is pure earth, this Pegasus has to be a pure flying type, which would make it the first non-legendary to be a pure flying type. Isn't it weird that we don't have a pure flying type Pokemon yet that's not a legendary? I think that's weird. Well, I don't know, maybe this is all just a brony in me because I really want to have a little My Little Pony sub-team. But, you know, I still think it could work. Number 3, at least one new Eevee evolution, as long as it's not too convoluted to get that new one. So yeah, Eevee is the evolving Pokemon, and so far it can go 8 ways. But there's 18 Pokemon types, so that means that there's a potential for 10 more. I'd like to see at least one more in this generation, since we didn't get one in Generation 7. But I don't want it to be too complicated, or something that you wouldn't be able to do until like the post-game. Like I remember with Glaceon and Leafeon, you need to be standing next to that rock, and in Generation 7 at least, and also in Generation 6, the Ice Rock is like all the way near the end of the game. So like you won't be able to have a Glaceon until you've already beaten all the gym leaders, you know? That sucks. So like put the Moss Rock and the Ice Rock at an earlier point in the game so we could get them before we beat all the gym leaders. And I was going to complain about how difficult it is to evolve a Sylveon because the affection stat didn't go up very fast in Generation 6, but they had already fixed it in Generation 7 with the introduction of Rainbow Beans, where a single one of them can give you 3 affection hearts. So whatever new Eevee evolution we get, don't make it too complicated for us. Like, if it has to be some new area that the Eevee evolves in, put it at a relatively early point in the game. If it's an object that can be carried, make it something we can get at a relatively early point, or it's an easy to find item. Or like maybe it can just be a new region Pokemon that it has to evolve into, like how Mantike will only evolve if you have a Remoraid in your party. I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna get a new Eevee, make it a new Eevee that we can acquire without having to tear our hair out, you know? 4, a reliable place to level up in post-game. Yeah, this is a big problem for me in Pokemon Moon. Like I didn't get my entire party up to level 100 for almost a year after I'd actually beaten the game. Like like once you beat all the trainers, the only thing you have left to do is face wild Pokemon and maybe the one or two repeatable encounters, which really sucks when you're trying to level up your party all the way, or when you're trying to level up other Pokemon so you can take them into like the battle tree or whatever. Like Generation 6 had this really cool thing called the Battle Chateau. It's basically a castle where you can take Pokemon trainers on wherever you want. And by putting some money in, you can actually make sure you get higher level Pokemon trainers to fight against. We need a system like this in a new Pokemon game so that, it increases the replay value and makes the grind just that little bit less grindy. After all, like you get more experience points when you take on a trainer battle than when you fight wild Pokemon. Plus, it's the easiest way to get money. So this is probably like a pretty essential thing if you want people to keep on playing post-game for anything other than multiplayer stuff. Number 5, build relationships with the Pokemon. Yes, we have to remember, Pokemon is an RPG, and part of the immersiveness of an RPG is building a relationship with the characters in your party. And yes, your Pokemon team is your party. Now, there is a thing where you can actually go into like the Pokemonami, or like, where you can just pet the Pokemon, feed them sweets, play little mini games. That's all well and good. And I also like how this, in Pokemon Moon, this really affected the actual battles I face. A Pokemon that had a high affection for me would tank extra hits that would normally KO it, or brush off status conditions just so I wouldn't have to worry about it. I want more of this stuff. Like why don't we reintroduce the thing where your Pokemon can walk by your side? Or maybe have little mini events with Pokemon that you've been leveling up with for a long time, or haven't swapped out of your party for a while. Like, I would really like it if you could actually, form real relationships with your Pokemon. That's something that I would really love to see. Number 6, put real thought into your new object Pokemon. Okay, now I know, it's called Pokemon. That's short for pocket monsters. It's not Poke plants and animals. So yes, possessed objects are a legitimate part of lore, and I have absolutely no problem with the object Pokemon. In fact, some of them are my favorites. But come on, there's like the garbage bag, the couple of gears, the ice cream cone. Come on, you could do better than making a Mr. Softy mascot, There's actual real reasons why objects can become, there's legitimate possessed doll lore. So there is a precedent for object Pokemon. So, whatever new objects you're gonna make, try to put a little bit of imagination into their designs. I mean, this is like the most subjective request I have. Just don't make your new object Pokemon boring, or have a good, legitimate reason within the game's universe for them to exist. Yeah, I guess that's all I can say about this one. Number 7, keep down the number of legendaries. This goes for Mythicals too. There's too many legendary Pokemon. They don't feel special anymore. They feel like an obligation now. The first game only had 4 legendaries and a mythical. The second game had 5 legendaries and a mythical. And after that, it just went completely ridiculous. There's just so many of them, and they're pretty much useless. I mean, for the single player mode, there's whatever purpose they serve in the plot, yes, but then after that, that's it. There's nothing to them. You can't use them in things like Moon's Battle Tree or in the Battle Mason in X and Y. And when you take them with you in multiplayer mode, everyone's like, oh, this guy's just playing with the legendary so he can win all the time. There's really no purpose to their existence outside the game's plot, and the fact that there's so many of them just makes it really tedious. And when you want to actually try and fill out the Pokedex so you can get the shiny charm, and you need to get these legendaries, it is a pain. I'm happy that Moon cut out the requirement for most of the legendaries to get the shiny charm, but if they're going to give us a whole big pile of legendaries again, it's really going to not be special anymore. I would be perfectly happy if we only had 2 legendaries this generation, the obligatory ones that you need for each version. And you should be able to get both of them in either version. I remember with X and Y, you could only get Xerneas or Yveltal depending on what you picked, and in Moon, and in Sun and Moon, you had to go through some incredibly complicated process to get both Solgaleo and Lunala. It was annoying. And finally, number 8. This is our story. Don't try to manipulate the players into building certain parties or using particular Pokemon. I really didn't like this in Pokemon X and Y, how they just handed over powerful Pokemon like a Lucario with a Mega Stone or one of the Kanto starters just because. It made you feel obligated that you had to build your party a certain way, and this is like a full third of it. So, like, if there's going to be a special encounter Pokemon, like, hey, maybe make it random. That could be kind of interesting. But I don't want the game to tell me I have to use this particular Pokemon in order to play it right. The whole thing about Pokemon is that it's a collection-based game, and then you can build your party using whatever you want. By this token, I also don't want them to make useless Pokemon, like Unknown or Smeargle, like Pokemon that are completely useless in any kind of combat situation and have no real purpose storyline-wise at all. Like, I don't want you to have to feel obliged to make 100 new Pokemon, so you make like maybe 20 or 30 that are actually interesting and good, and then 70 that are useless crap just to fill out the decks. I want the new Pokemon to actually be interesting, and every single one of them to be a potential to be a party member. I want to be able to build multiple parties, because I like to do that for the battle tree in Pokemon Moon. So, like, don't try to manipulate us into picking only particular Pokemon that you like, and don't make a whole bunch of worthless Pokemon just to fill out the Pokedex. This is a really cool franchise that's been around for a long time, and we don't want to see you phoning it in. Alright, so with that done, those are the 8 things that I want to see most from the next Pokemon game. What do you guys want to see from Sword and Shield, huh? Let me know in the comments below. This is Wake Angel 2001, signing off.